All right, we're doing some derivatives. Here we're going to be using all sorts of rules. Okay, so here we'll be using the chain rule, we'll be using the product rule, we'll be using the quotient rule all over the place. Number one, y equals e to the minus x times sine x product rule. Product rule says that the derivative of u v is u prime v plus v prime u. What I'll be doing is I'll be breaking apart these products into two pieces, u and v, be taking the derivative of each one and then using the rule. If u is e to the minus x, the derivative of that is e to the minus x times the derivative of minus x, which is minus 1. The derivative of v is the derivative of sine, which is cosine. And then we'll use the formula. U prime, negative e to the minus x, v sine x, plus v prime cosine x times u. And again, we'll just take a look and see how MyMathLab, how much it wants us to simplify, but that should be good enough. Number two, quotient rule. Quotient rule says that u over v, the derivative of it, is v times u prime minus u times v prime all over v squared. In this case, u is the numerator, it's 5 cosine x. V is the denominator, it's 7 minus 3 cosine x. U prime equals negative 5 sine x. V prime equals, the derivative of 7 is 0, so this is positive 3 sine x. And we're going to use the formula V 7 minus 3 cosine x times u prime, negative 5 sine x, minus u 5 cosine x times v prime 3 sine x all over, and I think we can put this in exactly, 7 minus 3 cosine x all squared. Three is rolling the exact same way. U is 7 sine x. V is 4 minus 9 sine x. U prime is 7 cosine x. V prime is negative 9 cosine x. V u prime minus u times v prime all over v squared. We can put it in just like that. I don't think you need to simplify anything. Quotient rule. U is sine x plus cosine x. V is e to the x. U prime, the derivative of sine is cosine. The derivative of cosine is minus sine. The derivative of e to the x is e to the x. V times u prime cosine x minus sine x minus u times v prime all over u squared. Let h of x, this is going to use the chain rule, let h of x equal f of g of x, where f and g are smooth differentiable in their domains. G of 9 is negative 3, g prime of 9 is negative 6. What else do you need to know to calculate h prime of 9? Here they wanted us to know the chain rule. It says that the derivative of f of g of x is f prime of g of x times g prime of x. If we are interested, by the way, this is h prime of x. If we want to know h prime of 9, that is f prime of g of 9 times the derivative of g at 9. The only issue is, do we have everything? Well, we know that g of 9 is -3, so this is f prime of -3 times g prime of 9, and we know that g prime of 9 is -6, so times -6. The question is, what in the world is f prime of 3? That is not given to us, and that is what we need to know. Straight up derivative. The derivative of 14e to the 6x is 14e to the 6x times the derivative of 6x, which is 6. 14 times 6 is 84e to the 6x power. Straight up chain rule, family. The derivative of tangent of any function is secant squared of that function times the derivative of the function. The function inside, in this case, is 3x to the fourth. The derivative of a tangent of 3x to the fourth is secant squared of 3x to the fourth times the derivative of 3x to the fourth, which is 12x to the third. We use the chain rule. Let h be f of g of x and let p of x be g of f of x. They're going to try and confuse us, but they just can't do it. H of x is f of g of x, and therefore h prime of x, will just be methodical with it, f prime of g of x times the derivative of g of x. And therefore, let's knock this out. H prime of 1 is f prime of g of 1 times g prime of 1. All of this stuff should be in the table. G of 1 is 2. This is f prime of 2 times g prime of 1. Well, g prime of 1 is 1/5. Well, now, what is f prime of 2? F prime of 2 is -6. -6 times 1/5 is -6 over 5. P is g of f of x. P of x is g of f of x. So P prime of x is g prime of f of x times the derivative of the function inside times f prime of x. And I'm interested in P prime of 2. So that's g prime of f of 2 times f prime of 2. Now f of 2 is 4. This is g prime of 4. F prime of 2 should be given. It's -6. The hope is we have g prime of 4, and we do. G prime of 4 is 2/5. This is 2/5 times -6, -12 over 5. Straight up chain rule. 8 times x squared plus 9x minus 1 raised to the 7th power times the derivative of the inside. Put this in parentheses. We'll recall that this is 19x plus 16 to the 1/2 power. We'll use the power rule. 1/2 times 19x plus 16, subtract 1 from the power, to the -1/2 times the derivative of the inside, which is 19. All sorts of ways for them to write this answer. Let's just make this nice. This would be 19 over 2 times the square root of 19x plus 16. But I think MATLAB will take either one. The derivative of the sine of 6t plus 19, the derivative of sine is cosine of 6t plus 19 times the derivative of 6t plus 19, which is 6. The derivative of the sine of theta to the 9th is going to be 9 times the sine of theta to the 8th times the derivative of sine theta, which is cosine theta. So that's all of this. And then minus the derivative of cosine to the 6th power is 6 cosine to the 5th times the derivative of cosine, which is negative sine. Quotient rule, that's u, that's v. U prime is 7, v prime is 8e to the 5x times the derivative of 5x, which is 5. That's 40e to the 5x. The derivative of u over v is v times u prime minus u times v prime all over v squared. We're just going to use the formula. This is equal to v 8e to the 5x times u prime, which is 7, minus u 7x times v prime 40e to the 5x all over 8e to the 5x squared. This 8 we can pull out of the fraction, so this is 1 over 8 times the derivative of 2e to the x is 2e to the x. The derivative of 8e to the minus x is 8e to the minus x times the derivative of minus x, which is minus 1. This is one we'll simplify. This is 1/4 when you distribute e to the x minus e to the minus x. I think, again, you can put in either one and it should be fine. Straight up derivatives, product rule, that's u, that's v. U prime, the derivative of 6x is 6. V prime, the derivative of e to the 5x is e to the 5x times the derivative of 5x, which is 5, and so this is 5e to the 5x. We'll recall that the derivative of uv is u prime v plus v prime u, which is equal to u prime 6 times v, which is e to the 5x, plus the derivative of v, which is 5e to the 5x times u, and that's it. Trying to intimidate us with the chain rule, I've got, let's just be clear about this, I got the sine of the cosine of 3x all to the 8th power. This is going to be 8 times sine of cosine of 3x all to the 7th times the derivative of the sine of the cosine of 3x. Well, the derivative of sine is cosine of the cosine of 3x times the derivative of the cosine of 3x, which is negative sine of 3x times the derivative of 3x, which is 3. Here we're going to just do this carefully. This is going to be a chain rule with a quotient rule inside, so it's going to be 4 times 4x over 7x plus 3 raised to the 3rd power times the derivative of the inside, which requires the quotient rule. So then it's going to be 7x plus 3 v times the derivative of u minus u times the derivative of v all over v squared. Product rule, u is equal to e to the 3x, v is equal to 3x plus 4 to the 5th, u prime is e to the 3x times the derivative of 3x, which is 3, v prime is 5 times 3x plus 4 to the 4th power times the derivative of 3x plus 4, which is 3, so this is 15 times 3x plus 4 all raised to the 4th, and we'll use the formula. The derivative of u times v is u prime v plus v prime u. In this case, it's u prime 3e to the 3x times v, 3x plus 4 to the 5th, plus v prime is 15 times 3x plus 4 to the 4th times u, which is e to the 3x. We'll recall that the derivative of the natural log of u is 1, the derivative of this is 1 over the function times the derivative of the function. We'll hold the constant here. The derivative of 9 natural log of 4x is, hold the 9, the derivative of the natural log of 4x is 1 over 4x times the derivative of 4x, which is 4. The 4's cancel, 9 over x. Playing with logarithmic stuff here. Product rule, u in this case is 4x to the third, v is the natural log of x, u prime is 12x squared, v prime is 1 over x. The derivative of uv is u prime v plus v prime u. U prime is 12x squared, v is the natural log of x, plus v prime is 1 over x times u is 4x to the third. Simplify if you need to. Again, the derivative of the natural log of u is 1 over u times the derivative of u. In this case, it's 1 over 8x squared plus 9 times the derivative of 8x squared plus 9, which is 16x plus 0. 16x over 8x squared plus 9. Straight up practice. Product rule, u in this case is x to the 7th plus 5. V is the natural log of x. U prime is 7x to the 6th. V prime is 1 over x. The derivative of uv is u prime v plus v prime u. This is equal to 7x to the 6th times the natural log of x plus 1 over x times x to the 7th plus 5. Trying to intimidate us, the derivative of the natural log of 12x, again, the derivative of the natural log of u is 1 over u times u prime. So this is going to be 1 over the natural log of 12x times the derivative of the natural log of 12x, which is 1 over 12x times the derivative of 12x, which is 12. 12's cancel. This is 1 over x is in the denominator, and so is the natural log of 12x. Hope it helps.